TYT Sports, y'all back at it again, and we welcome in Scoop B Robinson. You can follow him on Twitter at Scoop B. So we now touch on Brandon Ingram and the Los Angeles Lakers. And The Jump ran a really interesting graphic that shows the dynamic. Look, the numbers speak for themselves. When LeBron James is on the floor with Brandon Ingram, the field goal percentage is down. The assists per 36 minutes are down. The points per 36 minutes are down. Wow. When LeBron James is off the floor, Brandon Ingram's numbers are sky bleeping high. Does this tell us anything that may come to fruition with Brandon Ingram, Scoop?
Yes and no. I mean, if you guys are on Twitter, you saw my story about my sources saying that the Lakers would want to offer Brandon Ingram in a trade to potentially get Anthony Davis. And so the Lakers and anybody else are going to showcase what Brandon Ingram and some of the other players bring to the table. And so when you look at Brandon Ingram and what he brings to the Lakers, I mean, we knew what scoring threat he was before LeBron came. But I also do know that LeBron James is the primary ball handler running Luke Walton's offense. There can be times where he can stifle other people's growth and stifle their ability to be their natural self. So am I surprised by these stats? No, because you look at other players who have been able to do well elsewhere after LeBron played. But here's the thing. LeBron's a champion. LeBron's a leader, and he's a magnet. He draws people to play where they're playing. So I'm not really surprised.
Scoop, I guess so if you're a scorer, I mean, Brandon Ingram is a scorer. Is it stifling because he's a ball handling type of scorer that can create his own shot? I mean, you got guys that played with him before that can just spot up and shoot and wait for their opportunity, and that's where they thrive. But how much of it is it the style of play versus just, again, we're just a month into the season, a month and a half into the season. It's another molding process. So I guess versus the style of player versus whether or not the team is warming up. In Miami, they had to get used to each other first before they really got it together. And I think back in Cleveland again. So where do you think those lines are drawn?
I think it's a combination of both, and I'll use this example from a stylistic basketball perspective. I remember Pat Riley bringing in Anthony Mason to the Miami Heat. It was actually, I think the late Anthony Mason was voted an All-Star that year. Tim Hardaway was also the point guard on that Miami Heat team. And, there was quiet discussions of who was the ball handlers. Tim Hardaway, who was an All-Star point guard, the handler of the basketball, or Anthony Mason, who was at that time a point forward, who could distribute, who could rebound, and was just a bully. You look at the situation in Miami with LeBron James. Mario Chalmers was the point guard, and he and LeBron often clashed. You saw the two on the bench one time almost get into it. LeBron, to me, to use another comparison, reminds me so much of a taller Allen Iverson in the sense of he needs the ball in his hands to either create, score, and more. But the thing is, in LA, he has so much youth that can help him. If it's not Brandon Ingram, it's Kyle Kuzma. If it's not Kyle Kuzma, it's Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball is the starting point guard, but you got LeBron handling the ball a lot in that offense. And it was the same thing in Cleveland with Kyrie Irving. So I think sometimes where people are used to being the primary ball handler and used to having things their way, here comes LeBron kind of running the offense and taking over, some may argue. And so I think when you look at a system where Brandon Ingram is more freely allowed to be himself, it's familiarity. Because last season he played with Lonzo Ball, he played with Kyle Kuzma, et cetera. So yeah, I think it's a little bit of both in your line of question. And I think that, when you look at the Lakers 20 plus games into the season, we've gone from little fisticuffs on the court with the Houston Rockets to a losing streak to whether the coach was going to be fired or bring someone else into peace and tranquility. We figured it out. I think it's a filling out process.
All righty, Scoop. Appreciate it as always. Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you.
If you made it to the end of this video, mazel tov. If you want to see more, hit the bell and hit subscribe. Why don't you?